The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open, brought to you from BronxNet Studios. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. And here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to Muslim fashion designer and digital artist Hawwaa Ibrahim to discuss her all-inclusive clothing brand called Because. Then we'll be joined by cartoonist, writer, and educator Velez to discuss this year's Summer Comic Culture Arts Program events. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on performance poet, event host, spoken word workshop specialist, and curator Leah V with a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, coming to you from BronxNet Studios, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV or like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. Our first guest is a Muslim fashion designer and digital artist. She began sewing at the age of 12 and practiced on her mother's old hijabs. Since then, her passion for fashion and inclusivity has given birth to her clothing company, Because. That's the name of the clothing company. It's created with the belief that fashion is supposed to be fun and accessible to everyone. And here now to tell us more is Muslim fashion designer, digital artist, and Because brand founder, Hawwaa Ibrahim. Hello and welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Lovely, lovely. First, we must open up by asking why you named your fashion design Because.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I initially decided to name it that because I, I wanted to go with the slogan all inclusive just because I feel like there never really needs to be a reason when it comes to the way someone dresses or the way they want to express themselves. And I've always had people ask me, like, why do you dress this way? Or why do you dress that way? And honestly, there really doesn't need to be an explanation. It's just because I want to.
I like that. I actually like that a lot.
Thank you.
Well, because it's almost like a statement. It's just because, right? And so thanks for breaking it down for us. I mean, obviously, people are going to get the gist of it being a colorful fashion line. And just tell us a little background. Share a little background on its form of also accommodating your religion, your religious background.
Yeah, so I was born a Muslim, and my religion has always been a big part of my life. So a lot of the clothes that I do make when it comes to my brand are sometimes more on the modest side. That's just because that's how I personally dress. Of course, anyone is able to buy it. I've had plenty of non-Muslims buy from me accessories, clothing, other handbags. It's just the way that you decide to style it yourself, of course. You can have it modest. You don't need to have it modest. Of course, it's whatever you want. But yeah, I like to do, like a couple of months ago, I did a collection that was specifically about something in my religion, which was Ramadan, which is the month that Muslims fast for 29 or 30 days. So that was very specific, but in general, I usually don't have it right in your face. It's just
Uh-huh.
me being a Muslim designer that makes it part of what I do every day.
Okay, so that leads into because you brought up the holiday Ramadan and you designing specifically to accommodate. So what does that look like in you designing with that holiday in mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't like to do inspiration very literal. So when it came to Ramadan, it was a collaboration with me and my friend Sadia. So she created a Ramadan countdown calendar, but for me, I didn't want it to be so in your face because I did want everyone to be included within that collection as well. People who don't celebrate Ramadan and people who do. So I took ideas from Ramadan. For example, in Islam, we go off the lunar calendar. So I did like moon phases for hair clips. And then I did a star and a moon, which is like the universal symbol for Islam. It's not of the official symbol, obviously, but it's what people associate with Islam. So I took that and made it into like cookie clips. So it was just small things like that that still reigned true to Ramadan, but wasn't so literal.
I love it. I love it. We didn't really mention the accessories, but her line actually has clothing, accessories, and tchotchkes is what we call like things that you can just have. And I love that you just broke it down for us because I was attracted to the moon symbol. The accessories and then there's the hijab, right? Um, so I see you're wearing a neutral color, and what I noticed in your line, which I mentioned earlier, is you use a lot of colors. And so
Yes.
I just wondered, like, when it comes to wearing a hijab, is it restricted to just being one color? Is that part of the practice? Like, can you educate us?
Yes, of course. So it's definitely not restricted to wearing one color. In Islam, contrary to popular belief, Muslim women who wear hijab or even don't wear hijab, because there's plenty of Muslim women who don't, choose not to. Um, you can pretty much wear anything that you want. It could be colorful, not colorful, black, neon green. I have a neon green scarf. Whatever makes you comfortable, whatever is going to make you the best Muslim you could possibly be, as long as it makes you comfortable, you can pretty much wear whatever you want. So when it comes to my brand being so colorful, it's definitely not restricted. Again, you can style anything any way you want, non-Muslim, Muslim. It just depends on your personal preference.
And so educate us on why you all wear covers on your head.
Muslim women in general wear hijabs because it's a form of modesty. There's another form of modesty for men that also translates into hijab, but of course that looks different depending on who you ask. So for me personally, again, it's a personal journey. Not all Muslim women wear hijabs, but for me personally, I choose it to be closer to my religion as opposed to not wearing it.
And it's respectable in the manner of you modernizing it in being outspoken about your preference as well. I see you have a pride rainbow behind you,
Yes.
and so how's that been navigating through that?
It I guess it depends on who you meet. It depends on like where you live, your experience. I'm very open about what I believe in and what I support, and I've met many other Muslims who also are open about what they believe in and what they support. So it really comes down to being a decent human being and being open to the different people who live on this earth, because again, we can't control anyone's lifestyle, anyone's action, and everyone is entitled to love,
I
be who they want, and live how they want.
Yes, love is love is love is love. I love that. And I love that you're breaking it down for us and I love that you use the term being because at the end of the day, that's what we all are. We're all beings, right? And we all want the same thing. We all want to experience love and feel love and be love and express love and just float like that with as minimal judgment as possible, right?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
know. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what now with your new line? I mean, I know Fashion Week, we missed it. We missed you for that. We missed you for Pride Month, but now what? Now what do we have to look forward to? And so for the summer, you have anything special you want to recommend from your website?
Oh, that is a good question. Of course, you can't go wrong with accessories, hair clips, bags, earrings like these. Um, but I would probably recommend the t-shirts that I have, or you can wear whatever you want, even if it's like blazing hot, 100 degrees. Go ahead and wear a sweater. I'm not gonna judge anyone. Sometimes I wear sweaters because they look good.
But
Or
but
you got
I also wanted to ask, right? Because you have Arabic words on some of your clothing, and so I just wondered like what those words translate to in English.
Oh, yeah. So, fun fact, I do not speak Arabic, but, but it's definitely.
I just appreciate your transparency. You're like, well, you know.
Well, actually, no, just kidding. It is a big part of the Muslim religion, and Islam is definitely Arabic is a part of it. But I do have friends and family who speak Arabic, so I got them to make sure I was saying actual words. But they're mostly words of empowerment that I decided to choose. I think I have like a bag that has Arabic letters on it, so it's just like a reminder to make sure you feel beautiful, make sure you're always being God conscious and all of that jazz. And then I also did like a thesis during my senior year last year that had Arabic words on it, and it basically just said inclusive because everyone deserves to be included in society and in this world.
I love it. All inclusive in every aspect of the word. Thank you for being here with us. Hawwaa Ibrahim, everyone. Muslim fashion designer, digital artist, and Because brand founder. And you guys, if you're interested in shopping and learning more about everything we just discussed, you can visit becauseofficial.com. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about the activities and events happening at this summer's Comic Culture Arts Program. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Our next guest is a Latinx Creative Capital Zurich grant-winning cartoonist and writer for mainstream and independent comic books. He was the second Latino and Puerto Rican to work for Marvel and DC Comics. His work gives greater representation to racial and sexual diversity, focusing on creating complex stories featuring underrepresented and culturally diverse heroes as they navigate real-life issues that plague our global communities. He joins us today to speak about his summer comic culture art programs, and he is no stranger to our show. Please welcome back cartoonist, writer, and educator Ivan Velez. Hello
Hey,
and welcome.
how you doing? How you doing, Rhina? Very nice to see you.
Likewise, likewise. It's so wonderful to have you on. I know I would prefer it to be in person, but these are the circumstances in which we are still navigating through. And
Right.
with that, I want to congratulate you on the way you've been servicing our community. In the past, we've had you on. Your programs have been geared primarily towards the youth, and you recently invited me to participate in one of your senior citizens workshops, and they're done virtually. But I find it really, really admirable that you've been able to expand on this level of being multi-generational. So
Uh,
let's start there.
okay. Yeah, I've been doing these programs, and by the way, thank you for the kind words. They really loved you, by the way. They had a lot to say after you were gone. So
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I had to take that in because it was really a wonderful moment. And I love the way you welcomed me and the way they welcomed me. So thank you for saying that.
right. Well, since COVID was such a terrible thing for all of us, and we had to go inside our own selves as well. I found that the Zoom programs were an outlet not only for me but for everybody else involved. And the seniors loved it. And we started, instead of teaching them the Sukasa programs, which is the grant that goes for senior programs throughout the Bronx,
Right?
throughout the city. So I've been doing that for about maybe 6 years. But actually, the Zoom programs were very, very nice because people felt comfortable in their homes. They felt very free to share. The dialogue started becoming amazing, and they started teaching me, because I am officially a senior right now as well, and they started teaching me all these things about what to expect and what to do and how life is, and it's been wonderful and a rewarding thing. And they've been so creative, and they've been very receptive to all kinds of different art, which helps me kind of like find out what kind of arts do I know about and what kind of arts can I learn about along with them.
So
So
yeah, no,
okay.
no, it's beautiful, and thank you for breaking it down for us because we're gonna of course share with our audience all the different
Sure.
styles of work that you offer, right? As far as the art workshops, and because I know my daughter was studying manga with you, and the next generation has their preference, but I do want to, before we hop over to those other sectors, just mention the fact that what I found most intriguing about what I experienced in this senior workshop is the digitized that aspect of it, because they're not necessarily raised in that environment, and so we all kind of got forced into an environment where it was like fight or flight, right? So it's
Right,
almost
right,
like but they had to choose whether they wanted to expand in that area, and it
right.
looked, from what I saw, that they were like pretty crafty. I was like, whoa, I was
On it.
impressed.
They were great, and not only that, they just like, again, they started teaching me like what's available. How can I access people who are far away, especially people of an older age, and they use their cell phones if they can. If they can't connect with their iPads, or if they have an iPad, they'll just use their cell phones. Some people have a portal, that Facebook portable thing that people buy. So there's so many different ways they've been teaching me how to connect and how to kind of maintain this kind of connection with them.
No,
It's
it
really
was
wonderful.
great. It was great. It was great. It was
Yeah.
great. And again, I'm only bringing it up because of the fact that the next generation, they're almost like born with microchips in their heads, whereas
Uh,
the seniors, there's a resistance, but
there
right.
is a resistance.
Right. So it
Right.
was lovely. It was just really refreshing. Now let's just talk about all these amazing workshops that you have coming up in the summer that are going to be in person.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a bunch of programs off of the Bronx Arts Fund grant, off of the Bronx Council of the Arts and the DCA and stuff like that. I'm at the Poe Park, Comic Culture at Poe Park, and we actually have Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. Okay, and the ages for them are from 8 to 15. We kind of put a lot of the teenagers in there as well. I'm also at the Bronx Library Center, like in next week, like
I
July, it starts July
saw.
4th. Yeah, and we start that on July 8th, July 11th, July 18th, July 25th, and we go all the way through August. And that's actually a really fun kind of like thing for me to do too. Because I've been connected with the Bronx Library Center, oh my God, for maybe about 15 years when I first started doing programs for the libraries. I think that was one of my first sites.
I
So I was
know.
very,
We're so
yeah.
blessed to have you, Ivan. Really.
Ah.
I
You
think
know, I'm even doing programs for adults as well at Poe Park on Saturdays, starting July 16th. Because, you know, adults, people above 18, they need love too. And
right.
they're very creative and they love comics and they love all kinds of genre stuff. And it's a way to kind of engage. We talk about horror, we talk about the old school kung fu stuff, we have models to draw. And it's just like a fun way to kind of meet each other and kind of like, you know, build community.
Right, exactly. Build community, socialize, and
Yeah.
also be able to express themselves because art is another form of therapy. And the fact that you're a craftsman, you're an expert in this certain genre that happens to be, you know, the next generation is really hooked on this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
what I'm saying with what I've experienced with you, you know, because I have the utmost admiration for you, your craftsmanship, your choice of bringing it back to community, your choice of making it accessible to everybody, and now you've expanded into the seniors on this whole other level of giving them digitized skill sets, right? And so it's kind of like you're moving in areas of like, okay, this is what this age bracket needs, this is what they're interested in, and it's really dope. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. And you know, really, I even got my own mom to join the senior program as well because you know she's up in Michigan. She got nothing to do. She's 82 years old, and you know she really enjoys it. She perks up when she sees these people. So it's nice to kind of connect people from all over the world, you know, which I do, which is kind of interesting.
I know, and so in essence, right? Even though it's virtual, you represent the Bronx, you represent multiple communities, but most importantly, you're like like almost like a social justice fighter in this way. It's a very fascinating dynamic, and you guys, I'm bringing it up because he's very conscious about the messaging that's being crafted and being taught. It's kind of like he's saying. Again, we opened up by saying, you know, he's worked for Marvel, he's worked for DC, right? And you made a choice.
Right. And it was a tough, road working for Marvel and DC. It wasn't the most, how you call it, the most tolerant place. They really didn't see difference as a plus. Again, like in the 90s, I was like the first Latino to write a monthly title there, which is kind of late when you think about it. And that's when I was a kid, there were no characters of color. So that really does damage to us as all our communities that we don't see ourselves reflected in even like superheroes. Even the fairy tales back then. Remember all the fairy tales that all came from Europe?
Yeah.
So it became my mission, but almost by default, because if I didn't do that, if I didn't push through, what would that leave me? What would I leave like anybody of my generations, my nephews and nieces and all, you know, why should they be missing heroes? You know, why should they be missing a chance to participate in creating these comics, which become part of our pop culture and kind of change society, you know, via those.
I know.
We're heroes too. We're heroines. We're part of the story, and we should be there from the beginning. So that's part of the mission.
Oh my
to help.
gosh, I love it. I love it. Ivan, I'm so happy that you always find the time to bring it to our audience. Ivan, I'm that's it. You're going down in my books as the empowering cartoonist, writer, educator, because that's what you're doing. You're empowering them all of them, every single one of them.
Well, they're empowering me.
There
They
you
really
go.
are.
Yeah, here's to reflecting empowerment on each other. How about that?
There you go.
All right.
And you're empowering me too. Thank you, Rhina.
Oh,
This is wonderful.
all right. Always our pleasure. I mean, our viewers and our Bronxites and abroad, they all need to know what's available to them. So thank you for bringing it here. Once again, everyone, Ivan Velez, cartoonist, writer, and educator. He's got a tremendous summer comic culture and comic Prime programs that are taking place throughout the entire summer, and they're in different locations. We highly recommend that you visit planetbronx.com in order to get the calendar of events. There's way too many for us to name. And as he discussed, there are different age brackets. We've got ages 8 to 15, and we've got the adults, and then we've got the teeny boppers. But again, visit planetbronx.com. All right, stay tuned because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
We begin with our Bronx Athlete of the Week. This week's award goes to two basketball brothers passing on what they have learned from the game on to other youngsters. The BX's own Scoochie Smith and Malachi Smith will be hosting the Smith Camp on July 16th and 17th at Dayton. Scoochie, a former UD star, and Mally, of course, a current one for the Flyers. It's the first ever camp for the brothers together. Pretty cool. We'll stick with Bronx Hoopsters here on the top spot on the front end of 5 on 5. 5 sports stories and recap, and of course 5 to watch out for in the days ahead. Team USA's under-17 basketball team is getting a boost from a local star. Stepinac standout Boogie Flan is representing the Stars and Stripes at the FIBA U17 Basketball World Cup in Spain. The 8-day tournament concludes with the medal matches on July 10th. In at number 4, it's time for our weekly Judge Report. Bronx Bomber All-Star Aaron Judge is chasing the ghosts of Yankees past. The All-Star Game's top vote-getter remains on pace to challenge the club's single-season home run record set by the great Roger Maris. 61 homers hit in 1961, 61 years ago this summer. Entering the week, the latest projections for Judge have him at 59 homers, just a touch off the pace this past week for Aaron Judge. As for the Pinstripers, no slowing down for them. They go 14-6 over their last 20 games in 20 days entering the week. And to boot, 5 of the 6 teams that they have played in that stretch had winning records. The best team in baseball, folks, plays right here in the Bronx. And if that's not enough on the diamond, the Yankees are doing big things for the community away from the game of baseball. The Yanks celebrated the end of Pride Month in the month of June, shining a spotlight on the 2022 recipients of the Yankees Stonewall Scholarship Initiative. On a yearly basis, the team awards $50,000 worth of scholarships through 5 $10,000 college scholarships to one graduating high school senior from each of the 5 boroughs of New York City. That comes in here at number 3. More on that story. Check this out.
It means so much, right? I think that I grew up in a community where I wasn't accepted for who I was. And for a long time, I hid my sexuality from other people. And it wasn't until I arrived in America that I sort of became vocal about my experience as an LGBTQ plus youth. And so being here and winning this scholarship is like a full circle for me, right? It's that moment of, wow, I'm finally living in a world where I can be myself. And I wish that every single LGBTQ plus youth around the world has the same opportunity as me. And that's what I'm going to continue fighting for.
Especially nowadays when you see like a lot of anti-LGBTQ laws popping up across the country, seeing big names kind of show their support for like the little guy is very, very exciting and very, very happy. It makes you feel really warm and loved and like somewhat protected, at least socially. And so I'm very happy that they decided to do this.
In the 2 spot, the Mets continue their assault on the National League. The Amazons are also getting healthier with star pitchers Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer on the mend. The Mets took 2 of 3 last weekend. We go back inside the locker room for more.
Just get hits. I mean, that's all it is. You know, I still try to take the same approach up there. And, you know, the hits are falling this year, so not trying to do too much, and nothing really changed.
It feels nice. So I feel today using more my breaking balls and going with my fastball in and out. So that combination today was great.
And at number 1, Bronx and New York City racing fans looking for some nearby action can always turn to the half mile at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. The track is a little over 2 hours away from the city, and for the second straight year, welcome the Superstar Racing Experience. Our BronxNet cameras return for the SRX race, taking in the races on July 4th weekend. In the first heat, 2014 Indy 500 winner Ryan Hunter-Reay dusted the field of legends and stars to win the precursor to the main event. Heat 2 saw NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Labonte outclass the field. In the main event, Ryan Newman bided his time and pounced with 4 laps remaining in the 75-lap affair, passing Marco Andretti to win his first SRX race. Following Elio Castro-Neves' opening win at Five Flags Speedway and Tony Stewart's win last week at South Boston, Newman is the 3rd winner of the season and retains the points lead as the Summer Series hits its halfway point. Joining Newman on top of his car at the end of the race were his daughters. They escorted him out of the hospital 2 years ago following a wreck in the 2020 Daytona 500 that nearly ended his career. In other racing news, Scott McLaughlin wins at Mid-Ohio in IndyCar. It's his 2nd series win of the season. The Penske driver and his number 3 held off reigning series champion Alex Palou over the final 17 laps, beating him to the finish line by 0.5512 seconds. Here's more with Scott.
I felt pretty good, felt pretty strong straight away. And then I think we lost the balance towards the end of the race a little bit. The car wasn't as nice those last few stints, even though we were leading, but had thankfully had enough to hold off Alex there. And it was some pretty tense restarts and defending and doing bits and pieces. But really proud of everyone. The car's been awesome. We've had promise of top 5s and bits and pieces, but we just haven't put it together. And to finally put it together, 2 good races. Had Road America P7. Today winning the race. It's a really proud moment for us all.
And in Formula One, a scary shunt for Alfa Romeo's Zhou Guanyu in the early going of the British Grand Prix last weekend. The Halo once again proving its worth. Guanyu is okay and doing well, and the fans, including Top Gun Maverick star Tom Cruise, who was at Silverstone celebrating his 60th birthday, enjoyed a super finish to the race. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz Jr. is an F1 winner for the first time in his career. We kick off the back end of this 5-on-5 with an on this date in Bronx sports history. We flash back to July 8th, 2010. Man, that feels like yesterday. Using an online ballot, fans select Yankee star Nick Swisher and Reds first baseman Joey Votto to fill the last 2 roster spots in that year's Midsummer Classic. In the process, the New York outfielder edges Red Sox first baseman Kevin Youkilis for the final American League spot. Swish used his Twitter account to campaign for votes and to thank his fans for their support. Our BronxNet cameras rolled at that memorable All-Star game in California. Check out this pretty cool All-Star game jersey from that season. Yes, indeed, Nick Swisher, one of our favorites. In the 2 spot, NYCFC, fresh off a 2-2 tie with Atlanta, will host New England Saturday at 1 p.m. at Yankee Stadium. At 3, the Mets continue their homestand with Miami this weekend at Citi Field. Meantime, the Yankees are in Boston, continuing their road series with the Red Sox that began yesterday. The Pinstripers come in here at number 4. And at 5, Formula One will be at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix this Sunday. Watch here in the United States at 9 a.m. on ESPN this Sunday morning. We hit the C-list for a closer look at the Bronx Bombers as we move into the All-Star break. With baseball reaching the midseason point, it's time to give the Yankees some real credit with the calendar rolling over to the month of July. This isn't just a hot start anymore for the Bombers. These Yankees are challenging history. The team is on pace for a record 117 victories. We've talked about some of the keys to the season thus far, week in and week out here on the show. Stars like Aaron Judge, but I wanted to examine 2 unsung heroes here because I believe that's what is making this season so special here in the Bronx. The Pinstripers are getting major contributions from places that you would have least expected to get them from this season. In my mind, that is embodied in 2 relievers from the bullpen, Michael King and Clay Holmes. Holmes and King rank 1-2 among American League relievers in wins above replacement, according to Fangraphs. King and Holmes have been everything the Yankees hoped Zach Britton and Aroldis Chapman would be this season. King has delivered more than 3 outs 15 times and struck out 34.5% of hitters that he has faced, third most in the major leagues. Holmes has essentially been prime Britton, which is really a big compliment. Fangraphs has tracked ground ball percentage since 2002. Since the stat has been tracked, Britton has 6 of the top 11, including the top 3 with a high of 80% in 2016. Now check this out. Holmes is currently at 82.6% this season. This tandem is having a Mariano Rivera-like effect at the end of games. Yankees remain very dangerous at the midway point. They continue to look like serious World Series contenders, not just a hot start for the Bronx Bombers anymore. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
The 5 for 5 Films is back in action with its 3rd annual Film Festival award show. 5 for 5 Films is a creative arts after-school program with a focus on content creation and dedication to engaging, educating, and inspiring young students. 5 for 5 Films focuses on middle and high school students from all walks of life. Here is Josh Raff and Jordan Batiste, co-founders of 5 for 5 Films, giving insight on what the film festival is all about.
Today was our 3rd annual 5 for 5 Films Festival. And we gathered all the work that we did from across the semester with 6 different schools, 3 in the Bronx, 2 in Manhattan, 1 in Brooklyn, and we put it all together and curated an event with a DJ and a step and repeat with a red carpet and some food and we tried to bring in the community. Everyone that was a part of this had something to do, was either directly or indirectly affiliated with one of the schools that was participating in the event. So we showed a various compilation of original short films, and we had live poets from the schools, and we had a DJ, and we had food, and we made it a whole thing, and we gave an award for the winner of Best Film, and it was a great day.
Working with young people in high school, especially high school kids, is actually kind of an honor because this is the chance where we get to meet them at the moment in their lives where they're creating their personalities, who they are, their long-lasting friendships, and we're working with them, collaborating with them, and bringing them out of their shell and harnessing their creative juices and their power, and it's just a really special moment. So working with young people, especially in the form of film and storytelling, is is just an amazing job that I'm happy I get to do.
This is actually a club that started before the pandemic. We've been doing it for a few years before we had to go to remote learning, and it was one of the first things that we brought back as soon as we got back in the building. This event was fantastic because not only did it bring several schools together from the campus and from the Bronx, but it also gave us the opportunity to show off all of the work that our students have been doing throughout the year. This is extremely important because it gives students a way to express themselves that's outside of the curriculum, but it's creative, they're learning skills, they're learning future employability, future techniques that they can use to employ themselves. So this is absolutely important, especially for our time now where students are looking for creative outlets.
Student winners of the festival reflect on their work as well as others.
We're very excited. It was a cool experience. We didn't think that our film would be such a great big deal out of all the other amazing films. There was a lot of great films from the other schools in the building and outside of the campus. We had a lot of fun creating this film. It was something a little simple that we thought was a little cute and really little fun, and something kind of different with the black and white and the silence in it. So we're very excited.
It was actually kind of fun because I remember the skipping scene. Yeah, we had to do exactly. It started with the right?
Yes.
Yeah, it started with the right and then
we just,
whoa,
skipped
whoa,
away.
whoa.
So yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
Congratulations to this year's film festival winners. We hope to see these young creators on the big screen in the near future. For BronxNet, this is Kyrie Moody.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Open. So once again, we are hybrid, coming to you virtually from Chari Executive Suite. And our last guest is a Bronx native, performance poet, event host, spoken word workshop specialist, and curator. Her content offers a nostalgic reflection of her upbringing, as well as an exploration of Nuyorican cultural identity and the vast emotional spectrum of a woman navigating her 20s. Joining us to share more, we welcome performance poet Leah V. Hello and welcome.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, welcome. And so while I did give everybody a little background on all the hats that you're wearing, because performance poet was the first in your description, I introduced you as such. However, from what I'm understanding, you're doing a lot of producing now.
Yes. I mean, I've been hosting shows. It kind of happened organically. Started off performing. Was blessed enough to find the community through that. That community welcomed me as resident poet, and eventually I began hosting, trying to get involved a little on the back end, wanting to give back to those having the same experience that I had. And then I continued to pretty organically from hosting to producing shows myself so that I could hopefully run some things and have my own executive suite someday.
I like that. So let's just give everybody a little background as to how you got there, right? Because what we have written here is that you're assistant producer for Inspired Word, right? And I know before we got on air, you shared a little background on some productions that you're presenting that already passed as an expansion to Inspired Word. So let's just give everybody a little background on the trajectory.
Okay, so about Inspired Word NYC, just a couple sentences and then back to me. So Inspired Word NYC is it's an organization that has been producing open mics and featured shows for performers of all kinds from throughout New York City. And that's music, that's poetry, that's rap, we've had minors, we've had interpretive dancers, we've had a lot of comedians. It's really just an open platform for artists to come and share their work. And it started off as an open mic 12 years ago. It was founded by a renowned journalist named Michael Geffner, who's actually a sports journalist, ironically enough. And he's been doing it throughout New York City for a while. I kind of joined as a scared little new performing poet with her paper shaking in hand about 5 or 6 years ago. And then I loved it there. I loved the feeling, the environment, the culture. Michael gives me a lot of tough love. He's a good mentor for me. And as I began hosting shows with him, he kept encouraging me to get started on putting on my own and using not his platform, but our platform, which does have a large following that's already existent. I was able to start putting on a couple of shows throughout New York City. Now that I'm living in good old Bushwick, Brooklyn, we've been focusing on trying to find a community here. Right now we've put on 2 shows in Brooklyn. We had our last this past Sunday at Crystal Lake in Williamsburg. That was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that was the general history.
Pause there for a minute. No, that was great. That was a great background and leading up to where we are today, and that really invites the conversation of what that felt like to be in the presence of people physically, right? Because that's been a whole nother thing of an experience. And although New York has reopened for quite some time now, I feel as if though now is when it sunk in.
Yeah, yeah. We started putting on shows with vaccine mandates about a year ago. I'd say a little over a year ago in person. The venues that we worked with were pretty strict on that, but now it feels, I would agree with that statement. It does feel like it's everybody kind of out and about, and it feels a little more safe and a little more free. For everybody coming out. It's been really thrilling. And we did the whole virtual show thing for a while. I actually still put on, we have a summer hiatus, but I still do put on a monthly virtual show with a good friend of mine that started in the pandemic. I know this is an example of one of those hybrids right there.
Right.
So,
this is the way we're living right now. And in all honesty, it is advantageous because you're reaching a broader audience. So it becomes this, it becomes a question of like, okay, are we just gonna embrace the fact that this is our new norm, or are we gonna just switch over to just live presentations, right? And so where we're at right now, even us, like we're in studio, we're not in studio right now, and the truth is that this is just where we are. Mm-hmm. But there's something refreshing about it. There's something refreshing about just embracing the shift.
Yeah, it does feel like a kind of best of both worlds, I think, right now. I would be lying to you if I didn't say I didn't miss the network I had through my virtual shows. I remember in the first few months of the pandemic when we were all home, it was like we were getting artists from London and Malaysia. I remember we had 2 guys from India who would wake up at 5 a.m. the next day. So you were right. I mean, we do broaden the audience that way, but I like to think that hopefully we can continue to figure out a way just like this to keep it as the best of both worlds, and hopefully be able to reach out to those audience that we now know that we can reach out to, that we weren't able to maybe in 2019,
Yeah, and so just out of curiosity, how did they learn about it, right? Like, how did they even get linked up to this virtual show?
So we were doing, so Inspired Word was putting on a virtual show, and then I was putting on a virtual show separately with an organization called the Rose Garden Events. Both of those organizations use Eventbrite and hashtags very religiously. So and just reaching out to the network we have. I think that those virtual shows started at a time when that's exactly what people were looking for. And so for many of those people, it stuck. Not everybody, but for many of those people, it stuck. So I think it just kind of happened at a time where those artists, including myself, were looking for that type of community that we couldn't have physically.
Yeah, it's like cross culture, right? And unifying the world, because it's like a taste in different palettes, and so bringing us back to what you do, right? You're a performance poet, you're a producer, you're a host, and so how do you choose what role you're going to play, as well as the projects that you're going to mount and or host?
Well, that is still a juggling game I am learning to master. It is not at all perfected, but I will say that I do believe in my heart of hearts, my real passion lies in performing. That's where it started, and I think that's that in giving back to New York City live arts and providing a platform for other artists, it can only increase my own network. So selfishly, having that community assists my own growth as an artist and my own following. And there's enough love to go around, and that's the attitude that I've had to take. It doesn't have to be me against the other performers. It has to be, let's make a space for all of us and let's continue growing that space. So that's how I make my peace with the juggling act. But I do know when I have to step in and step out. I'd say that like my performance persona and my hosting persona are vastly different. Like you would almost not believe they're the same person on stage. Because when I'm hosting, I get to performing is so cathartic for me. It's such a it's deep and personal, and I have a lot of passion and sometimes even anger. But when I'm hosting, you know, I'm just trying to have a good time and keep things flowing. So I do think that those two personas coexist together. Maybe even, dare I say, like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. You can't have one without the other. That's how I manage that.
Well, I gotta say, just listening to you speak, it's really, I want to say, hopeful even to know that as I introduced you as a young lady navigating through her 20s, this is how you're communicating and your awareness, your level of awareness. So I'm really excited to share this with our viewers.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. So before we go, do you have anywhere you're going to be performing?
Yes, so you can generally find me at the Parkside Lounge on Tuesdays. That's the Parkside Lounge in the Lower East Side. All of my information is on my website, on my Instagram. It's at Leah V Speaks on everything across the board. And I will be hosting and featuring at a very big show on August 6th at an off-Broadway theater in the Upper West Side called the Triad Theater. And so some flyers and promos should be going out for that soon. But usually you can find me on Tuesday at the Parkside Lounge and floating around other open mics in NYC.
All right, that's what's up. That's Leah V, everyone. And guess what? You're gonna get a taste of her performance because when we return, Leah V is gonna perform for us after the break. So don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, and we're back in studio here now to perform yours. Let's give it up for Leah V.
And then that alarm electrocutes me. I curse the tangible universe. How dare you deal me this king, then tear me away from his skin prior to sun peaks? Reality proves to mate well with irony, defies all of the happy ending connections stuffed down our throats since birth. You see, we've discovered the work. You come from country, that of another and that of our own, and you arrive essentially alone. That initial evening conjoining guitar strings, you kept questioning, what's the catch? The catch is that I've become so attached that all pain points toward you as my medicinal man. The catch is that my intrigue in you is so grandiose that I, me, the most secure amid insecure seas, can't help but to question what in the good name of fuck you found in me. And the catch is, you've never fully given yourself. A mechanical method engineered through the equations of lone wandering wolves. The catch is I'm on edges of all kinds all of the time, peering over and into the unknown, emotions sporadic and shooting through my successes and into your arms when the applause stops and I no longer want the wretched world to see the fillings of this silhouette, when the lights are so bright that my pores peel into aches, when the metaphors minimize and moisten into mold, when relevance grows old, when the artiste can no longer please and all that's left is lengthy, listless LV. It is you who I wish to collapse onto, and majority of the time that's quite literally what I do. I give my 6 a.m. 60 seconds until my locks line your chest like backward wings. I can't help it. I'd rather run to work than miss out on your most majestic of movements, seemingly effortless like those irises, I want to eat your philosophies. I swim in your knowledge, the vastness, the solidity. But you take two people who express opposingly and you're left with communication messes wherever you go, but best believe we go. I'll take the reactive strength that both hurts and heals when ensued by who you love most. I'll sit over smoke signals of puzzle pieces of schedules and configure them until my finger bones expire. Tire myself with misunderstandings stemming from misguidance because I'd rather miss the eyelids than to miss more than a millisecond of sweet coexistence. I once told you I'd follow you into the unknown. I've already roamed the length of this city unaware that I was looking for you, my human home. Picket fence as hands, windowsill as bone, plumbing as lungs, all locked doors sealed and left to be undone. Knowing the risk, I still took the jump, or rather the slip. We happened to one another. And now we muster muscles for what won't allow growth. I sweat through the work, but we glow, I welcome inevitable pain. I will it, prepare it, preventative methods for future, and I love you when laid upon hospital bed just as much as I will when you're seated on success's throne. What's ride or die? We transcend, we can fly, we have already flown. After long days of work and poetry play, you carry me off couches when I can't carry myself. Too many evenings, your computer screen blares in languages I can't comprehend, and I wonder, will your evening ever end? You don't seem to intend to finish until your work is done. It inspires me. So I'm fully prepared to proceed in rolling up sleeves, letting the dirt particles build up under fingernails as we create singular space among this unforgiving digital space that isn't kind to those of us who encourage togetherness. The rainbows have left, but the butterflies remain. And perhaps persistence isn't too painful anyway. I mean, after all, music brought us together and the notes proceed to play. I do hope the sheet of chords never dwindle. I pray the bass line perpetuates even when it's too loud. I hope the horns don't lack breath. I hope the keys never stiffen. I hope to be yours, only yours until the sounds stop, and maybe even after that too. I'll work and I'll rise and I'll work and I'll rise, and you'll work and you'll rise, and we'll work and we'll rise, and best believe we go. Let the wretched world take note of this flow that we know, of this flow that I own, that you know, that we know, only we know. At the end of it all, we are inexplicable. Always into the exhausted other end and on to the unknown. And maybe even after that too. Thank you.
Wow. May we all rise to that frequency. That was Leah V. And for more information on her upcoming shows and events, you can visit leahvspeaks.com and check her out on Instagram at leahvspeaks. Bueno, that is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recapcast tonight and 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity y amor. Adios.